Are you applying your blush, bronzer, and highlighter in a way that's aging you? Let's fix that, honey. Because placement really does matter, especially for us mature beauties. Hey, beautiful. I'm Darlene with Beauty is What I Do 2.0, and I am your makeup bestie. I'm your makeup bestie for women over 40 who still love to get glammed up a little bit. No, who still like to get glammed up a whole lot, but our skin isn't what it used to be. So I'm going to show you today how to get that pretty placement of your bronzer, your blush, your highlighter for mature skin. The truth is, y'all, it's really not about trends. It's really all about placement, and that's what I'm going to focus on today. I'm also breaking down the 3 essential brushes you need to get that lifted look so that you look radiant without doing the most. Girl, let's get started. Okay, so first things first, obviously I already have on my foundation, I have on concealer, I've done my contour, and I've set with my powder. I've done my brows, and so we are gonna go right in to doing bronzer, blush, and I'm gonna show you how to do a little highlighter. Just because you're in your 40s don't mean you can't highlight, girl. Yes, we can still highlight. It's just a certain way that I like to highlight, and I want to show you that today. But it's all about also having the right tools. So it's not just the makeup. The tools are going to really make or break your makeup. And so the 3 tools that I'm going to show you today is this one first. It's by Morphe. It's an angled blush brush slash bronzer brush, but I love using this particularly for bronzer. First of all, the bristles are very, very loose, so it will not pick up a whole lot of color at one time, and it won't distribute it on the face very harshly because the bristles are very loose. I also like this for bronzer because of the way it's angled. So I feel like it really kind of hugs my face. It hugs the area that I want to apply it very nicely. It fits right in there. And second and third, it's a good size. You see, it's not too big, it's not too small, and you really have to pick brushes based on your face shape. If you have a larger face, then yes, you could probably get away with a fuller brush. If you have a smaller face, of course, you need a smaller brush, but the size of your brush also matters a whole lot as well. So this is for your bronzer. This brush is, who is this brush by? Whoa, wow. It is worn off, but I'll be sure to put it in the description. But I love this brush because it feels like, oh my God, it feels like mink. It feels amazing, and it's not too big. It's the right size, and it just gives a beautiful, beautiful application when it comes to your blush. I'm like so irritated that I cannot. That's because it's halfway worn off. But I'll make sure I have it for you. And then the last brush that I want to show you, this one is by Morphe as well. And I like to use this for my highlighter because it's very, very lightweight. Usually when you're applying highlighter on the cheek area or any other place on the face except for the nose, you do want a smaller brush. When you're going to do it down the nose, you would just use your finger, I would recommend. But for any place on the face, you don't need a big brush. And it needs to be very, very light. So it picks it up and it just places it exactly where you want it. So with all that being said, let's get started. Okay, so when it comes to bronzers, you can most certainly buy a product that specifically says bronzer. But another hack is you can use a foundation powder. The key is that it just needs to be a little bit warmer than your skin tone. Specifically, probably a little bit more red, right? Especially if you're a darker complexion like I am. But if you want to just stick to a regular bronzer, and today I am going to be using powder bronzers, then there are so many, of course, different shades. And I'm going to show you the 4 popular shades I use, not only on myself, but on my clients when I'm doing makeup. And so the company that I'm using, for bronzers is Fenty. So the very first one, you know, and once you see these, you'll probably know, oh, okay, yeah, that's my color. So this one is called Private Island, and the color is just it's just like a warm tan. Very, very nice. It doesn't have any shimmer to it at all, which I love when it comes to a bronzer. Nice and matte. But what I love about Fenty bronzers is that they give color. They give really, really good color. The next color I like to use on clients is called Shady Biz. And then this is how this looks. That is really more so for my fair ladies. This is a beautiful color I like to use as a bronzer. I also like to use it in the crease as a shadow. So that's another trick you can always do with your bronzer. And if you've watched any of my videos, you've seen me do that a million times. The other color that I like to use is called Bahini Gal. I think that's how you pronounce that. And this is the tone for that one. Just a little bit warmer than the last one. And then this is, I feel like, is probably the most popular, especially with people who are more like my skin tone or even a little darker. And again, what I love about it is that it just has a really, really nice red undertone, which is really what happens when you're in the sun, when you're bronzed. Your skin does turn a little bit more. It could be pink for some if you're very fair, or a little bit more red. This is called Mocha Mami, and this is how this looks. I personally like a little bit of a red undertone. Specifically, I don't like a very cool tone when it comes to bronzer, because I feel like that color is actually what I have on now. You see how my face just kind of looks flat? It's like, okay, yeah, my skin is even, but it just has no life to it. So I did use a cooler contour, right? But it's just not giving me enough color. That's where the bronzer comes in. So what you want to do is you just want to take your brush, you want to go ahead and pat it into your bronzer, tap off any excess. And then I like to use the part of the brush that is the angle, that is the fuller part. And I like to place that closer to my hairline. And for me, I'm not going to be swiping back and forth. It's all about placement, right? It's all about controlling that color, controlling it with your brush. And so I just like to tap it to place it exactly where I want it. Now, if you're having a hard time figuring out where your jawline is, you know, you can always do that. And it's like right there, right? So that's how you do that. And you just take it and you just tap it in. Now, my rule of thumb is I don't want to come much further than like the end of where my eye stops, right? So that is as far as I'm going to take this bronzer. And you can already see the difference that this makes from one side to the other. It already looks so much better. My face isn't looking flat. It is coming alive. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Child, I have to move the mirror. Right? You're controlling it, just tapping it. Oh, and that already looks amazing. Okay. Okay, and so the other area that I like to use bronzer is every place that I've also contoured, which is also on my forehead and a little bit on my jawline. And I even add a little bit down the side of the nose. So I'm going to tap back into it, tap out any excess. And I know I've got this on, but you're just going to tap it and just warm up wherever you've contoured. If you haven't contoured, it's okay. You still want to place it toward the temples of your hairline. And make sure you get it like literally going into your hairline, right? You don't want a line of demarcation when it comes to your makeup and your powders. Okay, I do a little bit here. And this I do kind of rub a little bit. Whereas here I was more, tapping it. Here on the jawline, more tapping it. But underneath here, you can go ahead because you do want it to be softer. Now, I guess there technically is like a fourth brush, and you could just use a very, very small eyeshadow brush like that. And I'm just gonna go over the contour that I did on the side of my nose, on the side of my highlight. That's a whole nother video, but I just wanna show you. And just using my finger to just kind of warm it up. And that is it, guys. We're all bronzed, it's looking good, and now it's time to go into the blush. Well, there is one thing I want to add. Y'all gonna be like, Darlene, you said just 3 tubes. Okay. But you know what? This is what you've already used, right? Because you've already used your powder, right? You've already used another brush to apply concealer. But that puff that you use to apply your powder, you want to take that puff, and now that you've put it on, you see how there's a slightly harsh line there? You want to just take it, and any powder that's left in there, you don't want to dip back into it. You just want to tap just to soften it up. And you want to do that on both sides. And you see how that just softened it up? So it just keeps everything pretty soft and seamless. Okay, now let's get into the blush. Now the blush I'm using, guys, I don't buy a lot of blush. I buy palettes that have different colors in them because I can't be carrying around all these 5, 6, 7, 8. No, I buy a palette that has some beautiful blushes that I know that I like to wear. And the palette that I'm using today is by Makeup by Yolanda, and it's called Bloom. I'll make sure that I tag everything in the description below. Oh geez, Louise. But look how pretty these colors are. Like seriously, like with this palette, you don't need no other blushes. Like this, girl, this is so pretty. This is all you need. These are all matte because we're going to be using a brush that is very soft. It's going to pick it up very nicely. Okay, and then as far as like what color do you use for blush? For real, guys, when you are buying a blush, a lot of times if you're buying it from the drugstore, you just have no idea. But I think, red tones, plum tones, pinky tones are always a good pick-me-up, personally, right? A pretty burgundy. It could depend on the time of the year. And of course it depends on your skin tone, but I think anything in that range, I think gives a great little pop of color. But when you're in stores where you can try it on, just whatever you just swatch on your hand, if it looks good against your skin tone, girl, you good. Don't stress over it. You don't want to just do anything that's just like maybe purple or I don't know what other color that would. I mean, those some purples could be cute, but if you don't know what you're doing, girl, stick to a soft pink, something in the pinky berry tone, something even warmer, kind of like a terracotta. Those are always good colors because it's just a little bit brighter than your bronzer because it usually has a little bit more orange in it. The terracottas do, but any colors like that, I think you're good. Okay, so now let's get on to the blush, and I'm going to be using this blush that I showed you earlier, and this is like the terracotta. That would be a terracotta. These three are kind of in that family. Of course, this is a little deeper. That's more of a berry. This is more of a brighter berry. The orange is good. The yellow, how would you use that? It would be like a highlighter to your blush. And of course, we've got that pink, right? So today, I think I'm going to use Carnation. I want some color, y'all, right? So let's talk about where you should be applying your blush. Now, as women of a certain age, right? When we were in our 20s and 30s and probably even in our 40s, we could smile and apply that blush right there, right? But as gravity is kicking in, right? The minute you stop smiling, that right there is going to fall. It's going to be down here. So now, because we are of a certain age, we've got to go a little bit higher in the application placement of this blush. So a good rule of thumb is you can always place the stick of your brush like here, and that will be your guide. And from there going back is where you want to put your blush. Or you can use your 2 fingers and put it here, like close to your nose. And then anything on this side, that's where you're going to put your blush. I say do this because I don't want my fingers messing up my makeup. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, those are just 2 ways you can just have a guide as to where you want to start with your blush. So when you are tapping into your blush, I like to use the side of the brush, right? And then tap off any excess. And you always want to have a light hand because you can always go back in and get more. You can always go back in and get more. Don't be, trying to put on a whole lot and then have to, brush it to buff it out to soften it up. No. So I'm going to start right here. And again, just like the bronzer, I'm going to tap it where I want it because I want to be in control of the color. Number 1. Number 2, the blush goes on a little higher than where you put the bronzer. So more on the higher cheekbone. We put the bronzer here a little bit lower, but that blush is going to go a little bit higher on that cheekbone. Just like that. And then I like to take the side that I did not use, flip it over, and then that's when I like to blend it out. And in blending, you may bring it a little bit down, and it's okay, but the important thing is that you're not starting here, right? So you're not starting there. And see how pretty that looks compared to the other side. It just really just brightens up the face. Okay, we're gonna do the other side. Tapping it where I want it first. And then flipping my brush over and then blending it out. And then again, after that, I like to still take that puff and then tap it. And how beautiful is that? I'm so excited for you guys. I'm so excited to teach you guys this. Yay! I want y'all to do it and I want y'all to send me pictures, please. Okay, let's move on to highlighter. Back in the day, and every now and then, I may still use like a true highlighter that's like gold or, the traditional type of highlighters. But nowadays, I like to use a highlighter that has a little bit of color to it. Because I feel like it's not as harsh. Sometimes when you go in straight with that gold, it's like, ooh, right? It's just not. Then I find myself having to go back and blend it and soften it so this just doesn't look so harsh. So I find that using a shimmery blush is more of a natural type of highlighter for me. And I think for a more mature skin, I think it will work really well for others too. So the one I'm using is by Milani. That's how it looks. The color is called Rose Number 2. And it's such a pretty color that I feel like it can literally go over any blush that you've already used. See, it's kind of peachy with a little bit of gold running through it. It's such a beautiful, beautiful blush. And that's where this brush comes into play. So you would just literally swirl around in it, tap off any excess. And because it's a small brush, you're not gonna have a glow all over the face. You're gonna just have it primarily right there on top of the cheek. See how beautiful that is? Like you see it, but you don't see it. Like that's just enough. Again, right there on top. I'm gonna put a little bit more here. There we go. Now that right there is good. Now, here's the caveat. If you have really textured skin there, you're gonna wanna skip that part. You're gonna wanna skip that part because the shimmer in it will accentuate any texture in your skin. But if you're pretty good and you've matted out your skin because you've set it with powder just in that high cheekbone area, then you're good. And then after you do this, you just want to spray and set the face and you are good to go. I'm going to use the remaining powder that's in the brush. You can tap it a little bit on the nose. You can take it a little bit down the center. Even if you want to put like a little bit here in the forehead, right? Just to give you just that highlighted pretty, oh my God, just summertime fine look, okay? And that is it. That is how you bronze, that is how you blush, and that is how you use highlighter if you are a woman over 40, 50, 60. I think this way is most flattering for us. I think it gives us just the color and the glow that we need, and we're not using too much product. So I'm gonna go finish my face and then I'll come back. So this is the final look. Yes, I took it all the way summertime, right? I had to put some pink on my lips, but this bronzer and this blush is doing what we needed to do. And the highlighter, just enough. So I hope you guys learned something from this video. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving me a thumbs up. And girl, if you're new here, I'm Darlene. Hey girl, welcome to my channel. I would love for you to subscribe if you like this type of thing. If you like this type of content for women in their midlife, this is what we do over here, girl. So go ahead and subscribe. If you're my day ones, as always, thank you so very much. Yeah, I think girl, you ain't gotta say it. You ain't gotta say it. I know it's cute. I know it's cute. Oh, yes. Yes, and I'll leave the link of the wig. I will leave that also in the description too. Okay, y'all, you know I'm just being silly at this point. Thank you so much for watching, for hanging around to the end of this video, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.